Let's talk about context. Context. Context matters. A lot of things matters in this society, and context is one of them. And why is context this secret weapon? Why is it more potent than many of your conventional marketing and media channels? Well, let's talk about what context is for a moment. You've heard the term take something out of context. And you say, well, what does that mean? Well, it means what was going on at the moment. Let's give you an example. Let's just say you saw in the newspaper, Robert Gatewood throws baby off cliff. You say, oh my gosh, that horrible dude. Skin him alive, throw him in boiling water, hang him up by his toes with his head in the fire. But then when you get the context, you realize the kid had gotten lost from his mother, a bear was coming, and the mother was down at the bottom of the cliff, so he grabbed the baby and threw the baby to his mother, and then he fought the bear. But if all you heard was that Gatewood throws a baby off the cliff, you're going to say, wait a minute, he's a horrible person, because you didn't have the context. The context is what else was going on at the moment. So how can you use context in your marketing? And why does not context have the same type of impact on something like radio, TV, and traditional mass media? Now, you need these 5 ingredients for effective contextual marketing. Now, bear with me for a minute. Let's just say an event happens. An event happens that impacts the mass audience. A lot of folks, in other words. Now, you as a marketer, you have to ask yourself, are a sizable number of those people that were impacted, are they part of my target audience? Okay, that's 2 things. First, something happens. A war in Ukraine, a heat wave, a snowstorm, the stock market crashes. That's called an event that impacts a large percentage of the population, either locally or globally. Now, you as a marketer ask yourself, how does this impact my target audience? Okay, so you decided maybe it does. Now, the next step is content. Do you have some content, or can you create some content that you can get out right away that ties into that event? Okay? People in your target audience, how were they impacted by the war, by the heat wave, by the stock market crash, by the real estate market crash, by whatever's going on, the election? How does your audience, how is it impacted by this event? Now, you have to ask yourself, do you have some content now that ties into that event? In some cases, you may not have content, you have to create it. But in many cases, ladies and gentlemen, you have content that has to be repurposed. Man, let me tell you something. This is where marketing becomes fun. See, I do these shows every week. And after each show, I go back and pull out 1-minute segments. For this exact reason, we're talking about this context marketing right now. And I can pull out whatever's happening in the news. I can probably pull out a segment that ties in, that's all ready to go. Okay? It's ready to go because I understand how context marketing works. And in some cases, you can just create it on the fly. You get your little Canva account, or you can sometimes just do a simple text, a simple organic post. You can respond quickly with social media, unlike you can with some of the other medium. Something happens and you got to look, let me call up the radio station and take advantage of this, what just happened. Man, by the time you get through the quotes and the prices and they create the ad and get it approved, man, that event is gone. Like the heat wave is gone. It's cold all of a sudden. The war is over. The stock market is rebounding. It went from a bear market to a bull market. You didn't have the luxury of waiting, but with social media, you can respond that day. In some cases, that minute. So preparation matters. Get your content ready. Archive your content so that you can take advantage of this content, this context by repurposing. If you don't have content, you can create it on the fly in social media better than any other type of advertising. Now, another key ingredient for context marketing is timing. You have to act quickly. Like I say, you can't wait 2 days in some cases. Sometimes you can't even wait 2 hours. Once again, no other medium has that capability for you to respond with such quickness. And that brings up the last one. So you have an event. It affects a lot of folks. It affects your audience. You have some content that you want to get out in front of people. You need to get out quickly. What is the delivery mechanism that's most equipped, that's best equipped to do that? And it's social media. Now, many people out here saying, how do I make social media work for me? They just sit there and post all day long. They just sit there and like and share, but they're not adding any context. You're not anchoring it to anything. Context anchors it. When an event happens, it's what happens. We call it creates awareness. It brings it into consciousness. Now, what you want to do is to make sure that you can ride the wave. In other words, we just talked about Women's History Month. Anybody out there who's a woman, there's some good context for you. It's a good time to talk about the fact that you're a woman-owned business. Okay? We have a war going on. If you're selling Kevlar vests, then it might be a good time to start posting on your social media. We're talking about a return to the office. Real estate people, take these articles. You can share articles. You can create content to tie into it. Okay, Amazon closing its bookstores. How can that be contextualized as far as your marketing? You may decide, look, I was thinking about not going into a brick and mortar, but since Amazon is closing all of their stores, I might decide now to let people know that I have a store here, even though Amazon is closing theirs. Instagram closing their Instagram IGTV. How does that impact you? How can that be contextualized? Now, let me give you some examples, some quick tips before we get off here. Don't be exploitive. You don't want to be taking advantage or capitalizing on some misfortune. Okay, so you want to walk that fine line to make sure you're not looking like you're exploiting a negative situation. But there's nothing exploitative about something that you've already written, something that you already own. You're just putting it out there. The timing can make a difference. You have to act fast. You can't be running up flagpoles and sticking it on walls and seeing who salutes. In this social media driven world, timing is everything. So you can't let me run a call to the newspaper and let them put an ad together on some of these fast moving stories where you're looking to take advantage of context in your marketing. Timing is everything. You want to repurpose your content. If you haven't already, in your computer, on whatever device you use, you want to build an archive on your computer of some of your favorite posts, some of your favorite ads, some of your favorite videos. Put a time on them. You might put in that folder, you might say, these are 1 minute videos. These are 2 minute videos. These are 10-minute videos. You can even categorize them by content, by subject matter. And so when these context opportunities arrive, you can be one of the first ones on the block to get that information out there. That's what I do. I have all my content in my computer and it's categorized. I can pull out a story tomorrow on any topic. And it doesn't have to be the exact topic. It could be close. You don't have to say, look, I did a topic on war. You might can talk about the impact of certain type of catastrophes that happen and how to respond. So it might not be directly related to a war. It could be related to a hurricane, could be related to some other type of disaster, but you can repurpose it and contextualize it based on what is happening in the current. You can also use it, tie in and get synergy by tying in some of your other medium. Email is pretty effective also for context, immediate response. Also things like your website. Make sure you get information on your website. And like I've always said, ladies and gentlemen, if you get lost along the way in any type of marketing, one, make sure your audience comes first. And second, let your purpose be your guide. Go back to your purpose and you will never get lost, whether context marketing or anything else that we talked about.